Hey YouTube. So a couple other things that are useful and cheap. I guess I have $30 maybe here. Not much. All right. So let's just go outside and inside. All right. This is essentially a 90-degree angle with a razor blade looking thing across it. So if you want to find the center of something that's round, say, put it in there, and the edge of the blade shows you dead center. Put a mark across there. Now you know where center is. If you want to, or now you know dead cross the center of the thing. If you want to find the actual dead center point of the thing, rotate, make another mark, rotate, make another point, and you'll get like 3 or 4 lines that cross each other, and where they cross in the center, that's the center. So very useful thing, and of course it'll work with square stuff too. Yeah, this is cheap. I bought this on Amazon, I guess for $9 or something. It wasn't very much. This is a punch tool. I would recommend buying one better than this one. Yeah, if you find this one on eBay or Amazon, just keep going and find something that costs more, like say $15. I think I paid like $4 or $5 for this one, and when it was brand new, it punched a lot better than it does now. And this thing's not old. I think I've had it for 6 months, but the springs inside are gone. They just don't have any power behind them anymore, so it doesn't make very good dents. The point on here is hardened, and that's fine, and I've used it a fair bit, but the springs inside, it just doesn't hammer like it should. And I've taken it apart, I've cleaned it up, made sure everything's good, and there's no like rough spots in there or crap inside. And the springs just have lost their strength. Yeah, just basically don't buy the cheapest one. But a center punch, a spring-loaded center punch specifically, they have a little hammer inside them that's spring-powered, and all you do is press it down, and then you hear that whack, and it's going to leave a nice dent. So it works really great in wood, but not so good in like harder steels. But what it does is it leaves a little dent in whatever it is that you're going to drill in. So for smaller drill bits specifically, because they're so flexible, having that dimple in the metal before you start drilling keeps the drill bit from wandering away. And for larger bits that have a really wide web, like that one, so that web is probably 2.5 millimeters wide, maybe 3 millimeters wide. For those ones, the getting the bit to finally bite into the metal means you have to overcome that web, which means for a little while you have to kind of like wallow a hole in the metal before you start actually cutting, which means the bit can wander around. So putting a dimple in there first with one of these little tools means that you don't have as much bit wander, which is good, especially like if you need to make a hole in an exact spot. Having one of these punch tools so that you can make a dimple in the metal first to keep your bit dead where you want it is a good thing. All right, this is also a very handy tool, but I would say that there's times when it's difficult to use. So let's say that on this round piece of shaft that I want to drill a hole in the surface here, but I want to drill, looking at end on, I want to drill exactly in the uppermost surface at the highest point. So dead center through the middle of the shaft is essentially what we're talking about. Well, if you eyeball it, and then drill it, you're probably like going to be a little bit off, something like that. It's really hard to eyeball this kind of stuff and get it right. And this again was a cheap thing, I think like $4 or $5. But essentially what it does is you have a 90-degree angle here, and you have a little pointer, and you've got a line in the vertical piece. And what you do is you put this part in your drill chuck, and then you lower this onto your piece of steel. And being that the drill chuck doesn't move, right, this part down here is going to bend or flex over like that, turn. So basically what it's saying is you're not lined up yet, and then follow the arrow. So you need to get the thing so that the line and the little pointer line up, and now your drill bit is dead center over the middle of your round object, so that when you drill a hole, you're going to drill dead center through that cylindrical object. So a very handy little tool, very cheap. You know, the expensive ones cost like $6 and the cheap ones cost like $4. And there's absolutely no difference between them. It's just, you know, one person's selling the same thing for more money. Anyway, very useful thing for when you want to drill through a cylinder dead center, which invariably you do if you like, you know, work on motor shafts like I do. All right. So the last thing is this I made. You have a hole in something. And you want to line up your drill bit with dead center in that hole. Well, drill bits have flutes, so pretty much you can span across two sides of the hole, but you can't span all the way around the hole. So anyway, this is just basically a piece of steel rod, and I spun it in the chuck of the drill press, and I made a nice 45-degree slope on here. And now I can put this in the drill chuck, and I can press the quill down, and I know that I'm centered or not in the middle of that hole because it's going to show it, and it's only going to like skitter down one side and have a gap on the other side of the hole or something like that. In which case, then I can adjust my XY axis on my cross vise or the XYZ table to get dead center over top of the hole. So you know, it's nothing special. It's just a straight piece of steel. That's it. I think it's hardened a little bit, but yeah, that gets me dead center over things. I also use this for this. So, you know, I've got this drill chuck, and I've got my old one attached to this other fixture, which can go on my table. And sometimes I want to drill a hole in the end of something. I use this hardly ever now that I have the 3-jaw chuck. That's way better. But early on I used it for this. So I would want to drill a hole in the end of something cylindrical. And so to make sure that that worked, what I would do is I would take this piece of steel, put it in these jaws, like that, clamp it down, and then I would adjust this and the table on the drill press until this drill chuck and the drill chuck on the drill itself were both dead lined up, and they were both clamped around this piece of steel. And then I knew that this was directly underneath the drill chuck that was going to do the drilling. And then that I put a drill bit in the drill chuck, and then I could drill dead center in the middle of some cylindrical thing, like say the end of a motor shaft. So anyway, yeah, that came in super handy for that kind of thing too. Of course, now I don't do this anymore. Now I'd put the shaft in the 3-jaw chuck. I would still use this in the 3-jaw chuck to get the two dead center in each other, but then the 3-jaw chuck would clamp around the shaft and do a much better job of it than that craptastic drill chuck. Anyway, but yes, that little piece of steel, nothing special about it, just a straight piece of round steel that's semi-hardened. Comes in super handy for things like that. Something you can easily make yourself for free. All right.